Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Whenever people talk about South Africa, we are always reminded of apartheid or apartheid, as you say. This was a very brutal ideology that we had to live under since 1948 by a group of white people called the Afrikaners. So the Afrikaners are a people who came from France. They are the French Huguenots who left France, went to Holland, and then came to South Africa through the Cape Colony. And the Cape Colony is right at the tip of South Africa, but on the west coast. So they moved into the interior in the 1800s when gold was discovered here in Johannesburg. The Afrikaners speak a language called Afrikaans, which is a combination of many languages: Dutch, French, Portuguese, Italian, even our native languages, Sotho, Zulu, Xhosa, Khoisan languages, and even Malaysian languages, because Malaysians were brought into South Africa to work as slaves. So they call this language Afrikaans and they call themselves Afrikaners. Africa. Interesting, hey? So now, in 1910, it was the end of a civil war which was between the Afrikaners and the English, the Anglo-Boer War. So they signed a peace accord. And then in 1948, the Nationalist Party won the elections and Hendrik Verwoerd became the Prime Minister of South Africa. He is known as the architect of apartheid. Very interesting person, this Verwoerd. He idolized Hitler. He believed in Nazism, in, the purity and the cleansing of the race. He even went to Germany to meet Hitler, and he went there and he was impressed, with the work that they carried out there. And he went like, "Broer, you are doing a good job, broer." And he came back to South Africa. So when he became the president of the country, the first thing that he did was to implement apartheid. But where does it come from, really? So the Afrikaners believe that they are a superior race and they have been given a right by God to go out there and civilize non-whites. They believe that they came to this continent for a reason and that it's an obligation, it's a duty of each and Afrikaner person to ensure that the work of God is carried out. They believe that the white man is the master, the guardian, and the spiritual leader of black people. This was even supported by their church, the Dutch Reformed Church, or the NG Kerk, that black people must become Christians. But they were not allowed to preach the word because they said the word of God or Christianity can only be preached by those who are pure, meaning that black people are not pure. So when Verwoerd came into power, he implemented that because he solely believed that black people are inferior. They are the slaves. They are the master. So apartheid was not only for black people, it was also to help the Africans who were very poor, to ensure that they develop, that they progress even economically. So they depended on black people for labor because they are the master. So black people have to stay around to ensure that as white people develop and progress, they are there to be enslaved and to be oppressed. So in 1950, a bill was passed known as the Immorality Act. So what it states is that black people are prohibited from having sexual intercourse with white people. So no sex between blacks and whites. And if you were charged doing that, you would go to jail for a maximum of 7 years and hard labor. And in 1968, they further passed another bill called the Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act, which stated that black people and white people are not supposed to marry each other. Because if you did that, you will be mixing blood. So white people have to put on an armor to protect themselves, to keep the race pure and to preserve themselves. So no marriages between whites and non-whites. In 1950, they passed a law called the Suppression of Communism Act, which stated that if you criticize the Nationalist Party and the apartheid ideology, you will be charged. You will be branded as a communist agent or a tool of communism. And they banned the South African Communist Party. So if you stood up, you protested, you spoke out against apartheid, you will be charged and branded a communist. Even if you were not, even if you did not believe in communism, but because you criticized the state. So meaning then that the apartheid government carried the laws and they did as they pleased without being criticized. And now what happened was black people became enslaved, sorry, and then the white Afrikaners, because they were pushing for white Afrikaners, not just everybody, because the English and the Afrikaners did not get along since 1910. So now it was all about them to make sure that there was progress, there was advancement, there was development amongst them. So they lifted their own people out of poverty using black labor, stealing the mines, stealing the land, stealing the cattle to enrich and to empower themselves, because they believed in their heart of hearts that black people did not deserve this. They were not racially pure and they are slaves. And we are the master. So they passed, a plethora of laws to ensure that black people understood this, which I will speak about in other videos. So the intention of this video is not to hate on white people or to blame them for racism. No, or to take revenge. I just want us to be able to start having conversations around what happened to us as a people because of this ideology. I want us to be able to acknowledge the pain, the trauma, the shame living under the system. Apartheid is a system based on white supremacy, that they are superior as a race and everybody is inferior, and that they have the right to take everything from them because they are the master. They are entitled to everything, and the rest of humanity who are non-white deserve to be treated as slaves. They must be oppressed. Everything must be taken away from them. So racism in itself is a system that white people are living under. And all white people are racist. And I don't blame them, because this is the system that they created themselves to protect themselves. And what about us? What is our system? What do we believe on? We can come together and organize ourselves. Hence, we are still oppressed. Hence, we are still slaves. I don't blame them. They had to come up with something to survive. And we also need to do that. So I want us to be able to go back into history, take that history and learn from it and use it to our advantage so that it doesn't happen again. So that is the story of apartheid. Just keep watching my channel and I will be talking more about the laws that were so barbaric, that were implemented by the apartheid government. And yeah, I'll bring all the stories and it's going to be very interesting and fascinating. Let's take these videos as an information platform, because we need that information in order to heal from the scars and the wounds of racial oppression. The scars are there and they're not healing, and they remind us each and every day of our condition. We should be able, to analyze our material and social condition in order to bring in meaningful changes in our lives. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. To know more about apartheid and Nazism, you can read a book by Sipho Mzimela, a Black South African author. All the details are in the description box.